Okay, well, welcome everyone. I think we'll get started, and as folks join us, we'll just welcome them and it will be great. So to kick off tonight, I just wanted to first start by introducing myself. My name's Nadia, and I'm a part of the volunteer engagement team at the United Way of King County, and I support with our Emerging Leaders 365 volunteerism efforts. And we're really excited to have you all join us this evening for our first ever Emerging Leader 365 month-long volunteer challenge. And so there's other folks from the larger United Way team that you'll be able to meet this evening. And we'll start by just kind of talking more broadly about United Way and what this evening will look like. So together, we're building a community where people have homes, students graduate, and families are financially stable. And this evening, we're really going to focus on that second priority or goal around supporting students graduate in our community. For purposes of kind of how this evening will work, we'll do an icebreaker to kind of hear who else is joining us. And as I said, we'll do an overview of United Way at large, but then more specifically, Emerging Leaders 365. Then from there, we'll get to hear from some of our team members around our early learning efforts, and then dive into ways in which you'll be able to support us during this month-long challenge. So for our first icebreaker, if you could share your name, pronouns, your neighborhood or community, and what's your favorite activity to do during the summertime. And I'll start us off, and then we can go in any order. You can just raise your hand, and we'll make sure to unmute. So again, my name's Nadia. My pronouns are she, her, and I live in the Green Lake, Finney Ridge neighborhoods. And my favorite summertime activity is eating ice cream and walking in the evenings. So anybody's welcome to go next.
I can go. My name is Ozma, and my pronouns are she and her, and I live in South King County, so in Kent. And my favorite activity is also eating ice cream. So yeah.
I can go next. Hi, my name is Avery, and I use she, her, hers pronouns. I currently live in the Lower Queen Anne area, and I would say that my favorite summertime activity is probably just soaking up some sun at like a park, at like Discovery Park or like Sculpture Park. So I really like to do that when there is sun, because lately there has not been.
I can go next. My name is Tony Boone. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I am in the Green Lake area. And my favorite summertime activity is we have like an inflatable boat that we take to Green Lake and go like row out to the middle of the lake, and it just is a great little escape from the city life and enjoying the sun. So I'm looking forward to being able to do that in the future. Yeah.
I can go next. My name is Isan Jai, and I use pronouns he, him, his. I live in Skyway, and my favorite summer activities are playing soccer with my friends and also spending time with family.
I can go. Hopefully you guys can hear me or see me. My name is Rob Bravey. I've never done the pronoun thing, but I guess I'm he, him. And I live in Admiral, so it doesn't get a lot of press, but it's on the northern point of West Seattle. And I guess, especially this summer, with the bridge being out and everything else, my favorite summertime activity will be heading down to Alki Beach. And I like to be near the water or paddleboard or kayak and stuff like that. So when it's warm out, that's what I'll be doing.
I can go. Oh, go ahead, Alexia. Hi, my name is Alexia. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I live in Capitol Hill, and my favorite summertime activity is, yeah, just hanging out outside with friends and maybe a picnic.
I'm Lisa. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I live actually just a few blocks away from Alexia in East Capitol Hill. Yeah, we can wave at each other. And y'all really made me want ice cream right now. Everyone's talking about ice cream, but my favorite is just laying in the sun and taking a nap. That's my favorite summertime activity.
I think I'm the last person. I'll go. I'm Ayako. I use she, her, hers. I live in the Wallingford area, but I'm actually in upstate New York right now, hence all the trees. And in the summer, I like to do yoga outside.
Great. Thanks for sharing, everyone. So throughout this evening, hopefully we'll be able to continue to connect, but in terms of just kind of providing an overview and some context for what's to come, I wanted to talk a little bit about United Way as a whole, and then how Emerging Leaders 365 really fits into kind of our community, our sense of building community. So as I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the call, there are really like 4 main focus areas in terms of community challenges that United Way has really decided to tackle and work in partnership with various stakeholders to really move the needle in addressing these tough challenges our community is facing. And so those being really centered around early learning, which we're gonna, again, dive into this evening, supporting youth, financial stability, and ending homelessness. And then we also have some cross-cutting strategies to, again, really make changes in these areas through our public policy efforts. So really looking at a systemic level of how we can promote change as a county to have this be something sustainable. And then also really wanting to be intentional around centering racial equity in all of the work that we do, knowing that those communities that are most marginalized need, due to structural injustices, really need to be taken into account in any strategies that we want to, or approaches that we want to have to making those changes for the better of everyone a part of our community. And where Emerging Leaders really fits into this is being a opportunity for like-minded young professionals to come together and be drivers of that change. And as I mentioned, one of the pillars of the Emerging Leaders 365 program is volunteerism. And knowing that our landscape is changing and wanting to continue to support community, especially during this time with the pandemics happening in our society, creating spaces for folks to come together and build community in a virtual way and still be able to roll up our sleeves and volunteer alongside each other while we're still not able, or distant and not able to come together. So that's really where the month-long volunteer challenges come in. And for the next 3 to 6 months, every month, Emerging Leaders 365 will be hosting a monthly challenge. And it's an opportunity for you all to rally around one cause and to really learn from experts around what is the need, what is United Way doing in terms of strategy to meet that need, and how can you be a part of that effort. And so we're really looking for ways, again, to volunteer alongside each other to drive that impact and change. And with that, sorry, I got a little ahead of myself with the next slide. I'm going to pass the mic to Asma, who's going to share more information with us about early learning and why we're here tonight.
Hello. Okay, I think I'm gonna share my PowerPoint now, right? One moment. All right, so my name is Ozma Ahmed, and I'm currently the Data Capacity Coordinator at AmeriCorps Vista at United Way of King County. I'm working closely with the Education Strategies team, of which Lisa is here representing. Thanks for being here. And I'm working closely with the Parent Child Plus program, which I'm going to be telling you a little bit more about today.
Asma, I'm
so
sorry. Can I say one thing? Because I forgot during my intro. So sorry,
Yes.
everyone, but there is a chat box for those of you who may not be familiar with Zoom. And as anyone's speaking and kind of sharing content for tonight, please feel free to use the chat box if you have questions. There's also reactions at the bottom navigation bar. And if you have questions that you would want to share verbally, you can always raise your hand, and you know, we want to have it be as informal and open to dialogue as possible. So please feel free to use those streams of communication throughout the rest of the presentation. Thanks, Asma.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to share again this slide that Nadia already shared, but at United Way, together we're building a community where people have homes, students graduate, and families are financially stable. So I guess I want to start with a question. So when you were a child, what did you want to be when you grew up? And like Nadia was saying, you can just write that in the chat. Can I see the chat when I am sharing my screen, Nadia?
Yes, if you kind of hover towards the bottom of your monitor, you'll see the navigation bar and you can open the chat box.
Got it. I see. I see a gymnast, a dad, a judge, a vet / author. Isa, you said you wanted to become an architect like your dad. I wanted to write books. I wanted to be an author as well. Nice. Big dreams. Great, thank you for sharing. Okay, so moving on. So Parent Child Plus is a national program that uses education to break the cycle of poverty for communities of color, low income, and immigrant and refugee families. The program engages early in life and helps toddlers aged 2 to 3, their parents, and their family childcare providers access a path to possibility. United Way of King County works with 16 nonprofit organizations, many of whom are community-based organizations, to host this program. So Parent Child Plus operates under 2 models, the core model and the family childcare model. The core model is the original model. An early learning specialist, who is typically a cultural and linguistic match, visits a family for 2 30-minute visits each week for 46 weeks. This is done for 2 program years. During this time, specialists model engaging educational activities for parents and children together. This will hopefully be something that parents will continue to do beyond the program, so they can be their child's advocate during the rest of their schooling. Family childcare, or home-based care, is often the most accessible, culturally appropriate, and affordable childcare option for many families. It is frequently relied upon by families experiencing poverty. Parent Child Plus has partnered with family childcares across the country. An early learning specialist builds a relationship with the provider with the aim of learning how best to support them. Over the course of the 24-week program, family childcare providers receive 48 visits and acquire a library of 12 high-quality books and accompanying guide sheets that support the facilitation of learning through play. So this chart is based on an assessment done by Washington Kindergarten Inventory of Developing Skills. It shows that children who are ready for kindergarten in more areas of development are more likely to meet the math and reading standards, which research has confirmed has a strong connection to high school graduation rates. Kindergarten readiness is based on readiness in 6 areas: social, emotional, physical, language, cognitive development, literacy, and math. 1 out of 6 children not reading proficiently in 3rd grade will not graduate from high school on time. So making sure that we intervene early is imperative for Parent-Child Plus children. And then I have another question. So what might be some of the reasons that children of color, immigrant, and refugee children and low-income children are less likely to be prepared for kindergarten? And again, go ahead and type in the chat. I see low access to school supplies from Avery. Access to food, financial constraints, all very true. Language and cultural barriers, yes. Cultural barriers, yes. Structural racism, absolutely. Access to housing. Yep, these are all very true. I think at this point, IACO did want to put up that poll. So I have a polling question. Yeah, so what was the percentage of children in the latest, the percentage of children of color in the latest program year? What do you think it is? Oh, the poll's closed. So the answer is actually 91%. So the majority of the children we serve are children of color. I'm gonna get rid of this. Because of this, working towards racial equity is a huge focus for us. This graph shows the percentage of kids by race ready for kindergarten in the 2019 school year. As you can see, both white and Asian children have a significantly higher percentage compared to their American Indian, Alaskan Native, Black, African American, Hispanic, Latinx, and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander counterparts. When we look at the data and we see differences across communities, these are called racial disparities. When we see disparities, we know that we don't have equity. This means that we are not yet doing right by all of the kids in our community and that we have a lot of work left to do. We know that these disparities exist because of a long history and current reality of systems and policies that work together to marginalize and position communities of color, low income, and immigrant and refugee communities furthest from resources and opportunity. So at United Way, when we think about how to change this, because it doesn't match the vision we have that all students graduate, then we need to be intentional about focusing our resources where we see those disparities. It's important that we take this approach and that we take a hard look at this data and talk about it and respond to it, because if we don't, these disparities will continue and possibly even deepen. This is how inequities develop and are perpetuated over time if they're not interrupted. So that's the approach we're trying to take in early learning, to focus support where it's needed the most. What's also really cool about Parent-Child Plus is that we invested in program evaluation alongside model implementation, so we know that it works. According to a long-term local study, Parent-Child Plus graduates are better prepared for kindergarten, have increased English language proficiency, have higher reading and math scores in grade 3. And nationally, Parent-Child Plus graduates are more likely to graduate from high school. COVID-19 has been especially challenging for low-income communities of color, like many of our Parent-Child Plus families, especially since long-standing systemic health and social inequities have put these communities at increased risk of getting COVID-19. At United Way, we have been working together to help these families find access to food, rent assistance, and personal protective equipment like face masks and hand sanitizer. There's also an extremely high demand for diapers since our Parent-Child Plus children are aged 2 to 3, along with siblings around the same age. This is why this diaper challenge is so important to these families. So the diapers we collect during this month will all be for West African Community Council. This is an amazing community-based organization that we work with in the Parent Child Plus program. I've invited Isa Njai, the Executive Director of West African Community Council, to tell us a little bit more about this organization, just because he'd be able to tell it the best. So Isa, please take it away.
Thank you, Asma. Thanks so much for inviting me, and thanks so much for the opportunity for me to meet with you today and discuss about the West African Community Council. So a quick background, the West African Community Council was founded in 2013, and I was the founder. What we did, I'm a member of the same community. We knew what the community needed help with, but to back it up with data, we did a needs assessment. And through that needs assessment, we surveyed 540 community members. And some of the results that came from that survey was like folks needed help with early learning and then immigration to gain legal status to live and work here in the US. But over time, our programs increased from immigration, early learning. Now we do labor standards, just making sure that folks that work in the city of Seattle, for instance, are paid minimum wage or above. But for today's meeting, I'd like to focus on our early learning program and specifically for our parent-child program. We first joined the program in 2018, and thank you so much for United Way for trusting us and giving us the opportunity. When we started, we served 28 families, and the beginning was very rough because just to give you some more history, in Africa, in Senegal, where I'm from, early education is not valued. It's more like a luxury. So most of us, like myself, I didn't get a chance to go to preschool or have any programs like Parent Child Plus. But fortunately, you know, I made it through. But coming here, we all bring that mentality that, you know, early education is ancillary. It's not necessary. But for us, what we wanted to do with this is to break that barrier to educate our folks. As I said, it was a challenge at first to get the families, and also not only what I just mentioned, but also letting people in the families for the home visits was a challenge. But after a year of operation, helping the kids, and then many people saw value in this program, you know, and also the fact that this model is unique, that the caregivers also are part of the process model. It's not like our early learning specialists come to the homes and just teach the parents how to model with their children. But it's a model that's unique in the sense that the parents and the caregivers are given the opportunity to model with their children when our early learning specialists are not there. But over time, the following year, we were able to increase the number of families that we serve to 38. Now this year, we just thank you also to United Way for renewing our contract. Now we are serving 42 families. And in addition to the funding that we receive from United Way, the Department of Health, the Department of Youth, Families, and DCYF, Department of Children, Youth, and Families, saw value in our program and then funded us to replicate the model, the Parent-Child Plus model that we have with United Way. So in summary, currently we are serving 82 families. But what happened with COVID-19 was we were not providing diapers to our families, but somehow families are coming to us asking for diapers. Could you provide diapers to us? But since we don't have that program, we turn naturally to United Way, and asking for help is when Aide and Asma brought up the Emerging Leaders 365. And they highly spoke of you guys, that, you know, you are able to help us in this quest for diapers. So I wanted to take this opportunity. I'm trying to keep this very short. I'm trying to, so I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity that you are going to help our communities. I'm most grateful of these opportunities. And if you have any questions about our program or myself or how you can help, please don't hesitate to reach out. What I'm going to do before the end of this call, I'm going to provide my contact information in case somebody needs to follow up with me or get in contact with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Isa. Thank you so much for being here. And so I think that is the end of that. I believe it's time for questions, right, Nadia?
Yeah, we can just open it up for questions, and folks are welcome again to use the chat box, or you can unmute yourself. And we're gonna talk more about how the volunteerism piece of this will roll out. But in terms of early learning, Parent Child Plus, West African Council, Community Council, if you have any questions about that, welcome those now.
I don't have a question, but I just think it's pretty powerful, I guess, the stats and everything that's been proven. I saw it in the email before signing up, but it obviously is a organization that has a big impact. So I don't have any questions, but just kudos to setting it up.
Thank you.
I'm curious to hear, Isa, some of the benefits that you're seeing for families in the now 2 years, right, that you've been doing Parent Child Plus.
We are hearing more from the parents, the fact that, you know, they are able to model with their children and also learn. So we are receiving great feedback from the parents. And also, as you may know, the cost of childcare is very expensive here in this area. It's not everybody that can afford childcare. So one of the benefits of going through this Parent Child Plus program is to be kindergarten ready. I'm happy to take more questions.
All right, I'll give you a question, I guess, that I had. You said you're taking care of 82 families, I think is what I heard. What I thought was unique and really cool is that you're matching, you know, cultural and linguistic folks together to obviously have more success. Has that been difficult as you've expanded to continue to find the right volunteer match to the family background? Because I imagine you deal with kind of a variety of folks and then being able to match things up perfectly. Has that been a challenge as you've expanded?
It has not been a challenge because we knew folks from the community that are able and ready to do this work. So we barely ever advertise for positions. We go for the people we know. And also folks come to us, express the interest, and word of mouth, you know, those that are in the program pass the message on to friends and relatives is how they come to us. To answer your question, no, it hasn't been a challenge.
Good.
And to also clarify, it's trained staff actually that implement the Parent Child Plus model, not volunteers. So these are staff of the West African Community Council that are going into homes doing this program. So, and we choose organizations like West African Community Council because we know that we reach those communities like no other organization could.
Can you talk a little bit about what it looks like when somebody first comes into the home and like how they set up that relationship as a unit about how we're going to work together to educate the children and the parents?
Sure, yeah, the model we have here at the West African Community Council, we require our early learning specialists to bring their families. So there's already a connection between them. So they know each other. So them visiting those families would be very natural. Please let me know if that doesn't answer your question.
Yeah, that's helpful. I'm just thinking, like, I'm thinking with my partner right now about um, my mother-in-law coming to live in our area to help take care of our future kids, and we're thinking about what is how do we build that community together and define like our values around how we want to raise our kids and work together as a unit to define those values. So just kind of thinking about that within the context of this sort of situation, um, if there's structure around that, or if it's kind of left up to that like each individual community to define that.
I'd say it's up to each community to define that. And also it's important for this to work out to build trust. Trust is very important.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Wow, I was expecting more questions than this.
I had a question, Isa, and I think you kind of started talking about it earlier, and maybe if you could go in more depth, or I guess repeat it, but with all that's with our environment constantly changing in response to COVID, how is that within your organization and your leadership of the organization changed, and beyond the need for diapers, which obviously we all definitely want to support with, but maybe other things that you're seeing you're having to adjust to meet that need.
Sure. Pretty much all of our programs are going virtual, and we service a community that's very big in interpersonal relationship, in-person relationship. So it takes flexibility and strategies from us to for that mind shift to happen, to adapt them to our how we do business now. And also it's also very challenging that now everybody's working from home, whereas before nobody ever worked from home. So it creates additional burden for us, for myself and other managers to oversee the staff. But what I can say, the technology has been very helpful. I don't know if you are familiar with Microsoft Teams. That's pretty much what we need for communication. And I like those features where when you are available, your status is green. When you are away, it's yellow. So I emphasize that to my staff. Hey, make sure I monitor you. It's not like, make sure you are producing. We trust them, but sometimes, with the distractions and everything, in short, it creates more burden on a oversight standpoint. And this is a time also of flexibility. We have to be flexible. For instance, this request for diapers that we are receiving, we're not saying no, we're not going to provide this. This is not a service we provide. But given COVID, we understand pretty well that we have to be flexible, adapt to any situation that come to us. By default, we turn no one down for service. Even though we call ourselves the West African Community Council, but we serve everybody that comes through our doors.
That was going to be a question of mine, actually, is if it was regionalized to West Africa, if it was anybody in need. So that's really cool.
Yes. And the reason for the West African Community Council, when I founded it, there was no service organization that catered specifically to the West African community. Myself, as I said, I'm from Senegal. I could have created something for the Senegalese community, but my vision was much bigger than that.
So you mentioned that that the Parent-Child Plus has grown quite a bit within your community. How much demand is there within your community in terms of like how much growth do you think that your organization and your community could see within like adopting this this program further?
Sure, the demand is for sure growing, but the way the contract is structured, we can serve so many families in the city of Seattle, so many families in the state of Washington. But most of our community members live here in Rainier Valley, where our office is. But what we try to do here, in addition to the slots that we are allocated in the city of Seattle, sometimes we bring other funding. If there are more Seattle residents that need the service, we don't turn them down. We still serve them. To answer your question, the demand is growing. Now parents are seeing value in this program, especially since our last graduation. It attracted a lot of attention from the parents and caregivers.
I think maybe we'll have one more question and then we can talk about the diaper drives.
Sure.
I always have questions. I'm curious. So when you said you founded this, I guess that's really commendable. I'm guess what was the process for, you had a vision obviously, and you had to pull, I'm assuming, a team together to kind of get this off the ground and running. I know you said you had struggles in the beginning, but like walk me through how you thought of it and like what was the light bulb moment of like, I have to do this and here's what I need to do to get it done.
Right. Thanks so much for asking that question. One thing to understand is the difference between the West African and the East African community. The East African community mostly come here as refugees, where when they arrive, there's a support system that's already built for them. Whereas for us, the West Africans, we come here, like myself, I came as a student. Some come as visitors, and some tend to overstay their visas. So they are out of status, then they stay under the radar. So there's no support system for them. And the idea of the West African Community Council was to create that resource hub, just to replicate, what the East African community has. Even though they are backed by the federal government and state government, but as we want it, to talk to the community members, those that are educated, have some knowledge and money, bring it so we can build our own resource hub. That was the idea.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Hi, Isa. I just want to ask, what are some other ways that people can help in addition to diapers?
So pretty much now people come to us for, let's say, rental assistance and then food assistance. But me, I'm mostly concerned about, structure. We are still a small and growing organization, and I really like the idea of this group, this Emerging Leaders 365. And when I had the conversation with Aide and Asma, I asked, would this group be able to help us? Because we don't have any volunteers that help us with fundraising, and there's so many other things we need. One conversation that I had with Lisa was, now that we partner with Food Lifeline, every Thursday we go pick up food to deliver to our community members. But for the lack of transportation, reliable transportation, they sometimes give us 2 pallets of food, but unfortunately we have to rely on very small vehicles to make multiple trips to pick up the food, distribute it to the people. So there are so many ways that people can help. How can we empower this organization as far as fundraising? We don't have fundraising events. So any ideas? For me, I see big. Give me the idea, I can run with it. Rather than giving me money, give me the thoughts. So I guess to answer the question, there's so many ways people can help, and we need to help. But one thing I don't want to do, I don't want to take this group away from United Way. We are partners, but if you all find the time, you think you can help us, please, please, your help is needed.
Well, thank you again so much, Isa, for your time this evening. I know you're, being the leader of your organization, have a finite amount. So we are so grateful. And Asma, for your expertise and all of the information that you shared. We're just really grateful as well to you. So thank you both.
Sure.
And with that, I'm excited to talk about the diaper drive. So I'm going to screen share. And I wanted us to just kind of, at a high level, take a look at some of the key points that have been outlined in the volunteer packets that you all received when you registered for this project. And we'll look over that too, but these are just kind of main pieces of information to keep in mind as you launch your diaper drive. So there are two ideas that came to mind for us. Obviously, if you think of others, we're open to that. We just want to get as many diapers as possible. But what we presented was for you to either do an individual gift donation of diapers on your own, and that can just be sent directly or dropped off at West African Community Council. And then the other option would be to engage your community in this opportunity. So we've put together in that volunteer packet kind of some tips and ideas for how you can host a neighborhood diaper drive or a virtual diaper drive with folks in your professional, personal, familial networks. And the main thing that we want folks to just keep in mind is we're looking for diaper sizes 4, 5, and 6. And that those diapers would be shipped by July 31st or delivered on Tuesday or Wednesday on the 31st. Or I'm sorry, actually, Asma, I might ask you to clarify that. But there in your packet, it'll tell you the dates, but on Tuesday or Wednesday in July from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then we've also included in your packet the address for where you can drop those off. And then the only other piece is at the end of the month, we'll actually send you all a Google form to ask you how many diapers you were able to either donate on your own or you were able to collect. And the idea behind this is really to show that collective impact as Emerging Leaders 365, how we were able to come together and give that quantity to those who need it in our community and our neighbors. So that's kind of, again, the highlights of what's in your packet. But I also wanted to pull up that packet in case anyone had any questions. And if you didn't receive this, feel free to send me a message in the chat and I will make sure to get it for you. But what's great about the packet is that it gives kind of a summary of a lot of the conversation we've had this evening. And that can be really helpful as you start to rally and create some energy in your network for donating diapers. And if you scroll down, we also provided some sample language for you all to be able to use in whatever form of communication that is easiest for you. So whether that be email, there's a Facebook, LinkedIn post, and there's also Twitter and Instagram. And as you start your drive, again, if you have any questions or you need support in any way, please know you can always reach out to me and I will be following up with all of you in an email after this to share the recording of tonight's session in case you want to share that out or review it again. But we'll make sure to get that to you as well. And then you'll also have my contact information. So we have about 12 minutes left, and it's totally fine if we end early. But I did want to open it again for any questions for any of the presenters tonight or about the diaper challenge. So with that, I'll stop talking.
I have a question actually. So I think it's cool. You can obviously collect diapers, but I'm thinking as in terms of, people aren't going out as much to go shopping, may not feel comfortable. So could we just have people like, let's say, order on Amazon and have things shipped to that address, or is that not allowed?
Totally. Yes.
Oh,
You can
okay.
have people, yes, definitely want to be respectful, mindful of folks' preferences right now with the pandemic. So yes, you are welcome to, and I believe what they have in these different ways to communicate with your networks, you can put that information in and edit it and just say, feel free to also ship it to this address by this date. And, these are the sizes we're looking for.
So I guess my follow-up question to that is that, because I think that's an option I'll definitely pursue, but there's also, I forget to use it half the time, but there's, if you go to smile.amazon.com, it like links to, you can like 1% of every order or something goes to that nonprofit.
Oh.
So I was just thinking of another way to maximize. I don't know if West African Community Council has that, but like a couple other nonprofits I work with, it's a link, and you can use that. And like I said, anything you order at all. So just for any one of you, if you don't know this already, it doesn't work on the app, so you have to actually go to their website. But it's Smile Amazon or something. You can Google it, and you just link it on your computer. And every purchase that you make on Amazon, whether you buy a TV or toilet paper or whatever, like 0.1% or whatever it is goes to that nonprofit, and they send out a statement at the end of the year saying, here's how much we've donated to that nonprofit. So that was a lot of information, but I'm just wondering if that connection's been made with Amazon, then there could be an additional financial incentive.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, Isa, do you know if your organization's on Amazon Smile?
Never heard of that, and thank you so much for bringing that to my attention. I'm gonna take a look at it right after this call.
Great.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
could. I mean, honestly, it's for him, for Isa, for your network or your people,
Sure.
and anybody on Amazon. It doesn't matter. It's like, I think it's a outstanding contract or whatever. And then anytime anybody orders, and it's not huge amounts of money because it's 0.1% or whatever, but it adds up. So
Sure. Anything helps. Yep.
Yes, and if you end up doing that, let us know, and then I can update all the volunteers who are going to be doing this, and so to Rob's point, they can let folks know that Amazon Smile is an option. Excellent. Any other questions?
I may have missed this, but is there a goal for how many diapers we're trying to collect, or an estimate of how many diapers will be provides a year's worth of diapers for a family? I don't really have a ballpark idea of what that is.
I can speak about that. So as of yesterday, we have received a total request of 624 diapers for all of our programs across. It's not Parent Child Plus, but our program usage, all the programs across.
Thanks for asking that question, Tony, and we'll make sure to also have that be listed on the site. And if that number changes, let us know so that we can make sure to give folks a goal.
I do like that idea though, Tony, as in terms of, some people may say, oh, I'd love to give 1 month of diapers for a family. And so maybe that, I don't have kids, so I have no idea what that would be, but maybe there's a number out there. I could probably Google it and say, okay, you need whatever, 3 diapers a day times, every kid that you have, type of thing. But I like that because it gives maybe people a block of stuff if they'd want to donate. So maybe we could generate some of those stats and share those out.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us this evening. I have some homework to get you some stats and possibly Amazon Smile information. And as I said, as a follow-up to this call, I'll make sure to send this recording, and I'll also just resend the volunteer packet. So you should have that as well. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening. And we really look forward to seeing what we can collectively do for the month of July. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you all for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.